The Musers, the podcast. It's episode 19, Gambling with Beer Enemas.
It is The Musers, the podcast, episode 19. I'm George Dunham.
I'm Craig Miller, a.k.a. the Splendid Splinter.
I think that one's taken.
19. Who sang that 19 song? What is that?
No, 19.
What was
the
that?
average age was 19. I can't remember that group from the 80s.
Was that Falco, One Night in Bangkok?
No, that wasn't Falco, One Night in Bangkok. Just say your name.
Oh, Gordon Keith.
That's Gordon. And here we go with episode 19. We thought we may have a very special football friend for episode 19. That may be episode like 21 or 22. We had a scheduling quirk, would you call it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point, we will have a very special football friend.
Very special.
But today, we're going to talk about something that is really grabbing the headlines, and that is gambling. And the big story that hit not too long ago about gambling in professional sports, and namely the NBA. But before we go there, how about a letter of the week?
Yeah.
Hey, all
Gotta
right.
do it. You know we had to did it on them.
Oh, we're going to do it on them. This says, Musers, I've been really enjoying the podcast.
Oh.
And I especially enjoyed this week when I was listening in the car with my husband. And I have a note for each of you.
Oh, she's got notes for us.
Yes, this is from Elizabeth, who says, Junior, I kept waiting to hear you mention Rick Steves. You're selling yourself short by not claiming it. That's very true. Why not that? And why not some Barry Switzer last
When
week?
we were talking about impersonations, Junior has an excellent Rick Steves.
I have a very short list, though, compared to you guys. Yes, I do Rick Steves. Yes, I do Bill Parcells. Yes, I do Rick Gosselin. And yes, I do Sal from South Philly.
We were robbed of those.
And who was it? The racing car expert?
Cornelius
Maximilian. Cornelius. So I do 5.
Okay, but some of those are original characters.
Yeah.
But if you told me a guy does great impersonations and you told me he does Rick Steves and Bill Parcells,
I'd want to hear that
I would
guy.
think that's the weirdest collection of voices that one guy does.
I would want to hear that. To me, Elizabeth says, I don't even know who Dick Vitale is, but I love to hear his voice, and it makes me laugh out loud every time. Incredible work. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay. I still don't know who he is. Who is he?
He's a longtime basketball commentator.
Oh, he is,
former
baby.
coach. You know exactly who he is.
Not really.
This is to Gordo. I couldn't believe no one mentioned your Mike impression from Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
What you're going to do is you're going to turn around. You're going to walk away.
She says it's your most accurate, and it elicits something between a squeal and a cackle when she hears it.
He drove me crazy. I liked Mike, the character on Breaking Bad, but it drove me crazy how he would narrate everything that was about to happen. You're going to get in your car and you're going to drive as far as you can. He was always telling people what to do.
That really is one of your best, though.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we should have broken that out.
His last name always drove me crazy. Trout.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do that on Impersonations Part 2. This week, we talk about gambling and the big story that hit the NBA gambling scandal, where a number of former coaches or current coaches and players were a part of 30 people being charged with illegal gambling. And it involves Chauncey Billups, who's the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. Really wild that the head coach of an NBA team gets arrested. He was charged with illegal poker games, being a part of those with current and former basketball players, and also something along the lines of inside information, passing that on to a betting network. Terry Rozier of the Miami Heat was involved in betting on basketball, in that he also notified the network of bettors, maybe go against me hitting my personal numbers tonight because I may just leave the game with some sort of unknown injury.
Bet the under.
Yeah, bet the under on that one. And former NBA player, current coach Damon Jones, who was also a part of one of these types of stories. And it has rocked the NBA. Congress would like a word with Adam Silver, the commissioner. And there's so many different directions to go here. One of the first questions I had when I heard the story was, how prevalent is this? Let's just take basketball. They're getting picked on now, but we can talk about the other sports as well. This seems like a pretty big operation, but do you just have in your mind that this happens a lot more than we think?
I do. I think it does. I mean, especially with the proliferation of how much easier betting has gotten. You know, there's just prop bets. You can make prop bets on everything, it seems like, these days.
Yeah.
So with the inside information part of it, you know, that seems like there is a definite big vulnerability there for players to exploit this and can make easy money. Now, obviously, the news story that came out was even much bigger with the mafia and these high-level poker games and all the cheating devices. I mean, that story got really crazy.
Yeah.
And overgrown. But, you know, there's the illegal betting, and then there's the legal betting that also has some issues of vulnerability. If a player gets in there and starts giving inside information, people can take advantage of that. I hate to hear that athletes would do that, but I guess you're human and you're motivated by those human things of greed and getting an advantage in life. If you have inside information and know which way to bet, that's what people look for.
How bad is this going to be for the NBA? Craig, you're a big NBA guy. I almost have a different take. I mean, the optics of it are terrible right now when you have a head coach that's involved not only in player performance on the court, but as Gordo mentioned, these high-stakes poker games that are going on with current and former basketball players that are rigged with X-ray vision and all sorts of crazy stuff. But I almost think because gambling is everywhere and because our attitudes towards it have lightened over the last couple of decades, I wonder if this is going to be the PR disaster that everyone thinks it's going to be.
I think it's terrible for the NBA. I think it's going to be an epic disaster, and it's stacked on top of a lot of problems that they're having right now. The NBA is really struggling because of the game. It's a three-point shooting contest, and fans and even the players have spoken that they don't like it. But that's what it's turned into. So you've got this league that, you know, doesn't have the Jordan Bulls or any dominant team right now. We've had all these different teams winning over the last 6-7 years. You've got fans upset that it's just turned into a three-point shooting contest. You've already had the league, more than any of the other leagues, called into question regarding their integrity, going all the way back to the Patrick Ewing 85 draft lottery, Tim Donaghy and the scandal the referee scandal. And so for a long time, even before this news broke this month in October, people have not trusted the NBA. Well, now this breaks, and we don't even know how deep this goes. This may be 30 players deep. This may be 100 players deep. Nobody knows just how deep this is going to go. And so you've already got a fan base that's growing disgruntled with the product, has never really trusted the product. And now this, I think this is devastating for the league.
It could be, but there's part of me that thinks it's going to have a news cycle of about 3 weeks or a month, and then the NBA moves on with a new head coach in Portland, a new guard in Miami, and we just kind of go about our business.
I kind of have that feeling too. I guess maybe I just have scandal fatigue, and I just assume that the rest of the world does too.
Yeah.
So
that's what the NBA is banking on, that we all have fatigue. Like, we have fatigue for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But just think about what you just said there, George, in that setup. A coach was arrested. We've never had a head coach in a major sport arrested.
He's going through the morning buffet at the hotel, and all of a sudden he said, "What's going on?" Hands behind his back.
Plate of scrambled eggs.
I mean,
skittering.
Right there. that makes it unlike any sports story that we had ever seen before, any sports scandal that we ever seen before. Just a head coach being arrested during the season that's new territory.
But attitudes, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, have really changed. I don't know if you saw that feature on the NFL Today a few weeks back when they were celebrating 50 years of Brent Musburger and the crew. They could not even mention the point spread.
Right.
So Jimmy the Greek would come up with intangibles, and he would go down his list of intangibles, and that's how you would know how Jimmy was picking his favorite that day. But it's everywhere now. Now SportsCenter has Scott Van Pelt doing bad beats, and they tell you what the line is or what the over-under is and what happened at the end of the game. And it's like there's all these shows on gambling. Who's the team to bet? Legal betting in this country last year was up 22%, up to $150 billion. It's big business.
Yeah, it's huge business, and it makes the games a lot more interesting for average people. I mean, the guys who are interested in games that they would normally never be interested in, it's got to be good for the league in some sense, right? All this, the explosion of legal gambling. Yeah. And young men, they love to gamble. This has been a favorite pastime of young men for quite some time now.
It was always vilified when we were in our 20s, and breaking into the radio business, it was really frowned upon if you ever talked gambling around games. But I can remember over the last 30 years and I know you guys think that I gamble all the time, and I really don't.
You are our resident gambler.
We're going to talk about our attitudes toward action in betting on things.
Look at him. He looks like he's tweaking right now. Just even mentioning the word gambling. He just loves it.
But when I was around a team, when I was doing play-by-play, I would get a call at least twice a football season from someone I know who bets on games. And it always made me feel really strange, and I would not give him information.
Jerk.
I knew he was playing. And so I didn't.
Why not help out your friend?
Well, because to me that was just wrong. It was inside information, and and this is maybe 20 years ago too, where we didn't have legalized sports betting in 38 states like we do now. I think only Nevada then had legalized sports betting. So it seemed really wrong. But to me, the lines have been blurred. I don't know if I was still doing a team now, if I would give out that information. Probably not. But it's just, I don't know. Some of the biggest sponsors for pro and college are sports books.
All of the leagues have gotten into bed with gambling companies now because it's so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I go back and forth on whether it's good or bad or has no impact. So the New York Times had this story in the wake of this NBA scandal. And they write, as more Americans experience the high cost of gambling, it is starting to lose public support. The Pew Research Center reported this month that 43% of Americans now view sports betting as a bad thing for society. Just 7% view it as good. The rest are undecided, the other 50%.
And so that number has gone up. The disapproval rate has gone up, they're saying?
Yes. In 2022, just 3 years ago, 34% of Americans viewed sports betting as bad for society, 8% as good. So today it's gone up to 43% view it as bad. So there is this one school of thought that America is embracing gambling more and it'll be legal in every state pretty soon. But then there's research like this that shows that Americans are going the other way, thinking, no, this may not be good for society.
Well, it's a lot, I guess, kind of like the alcohol discussion, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that you can enjoy responsibly, and then there's a certain segment of the population that should just stay away from it.
Yeah.
That would have a problem with it. But I think if someone shows that they can handle gambling responsibly and well, and I don't have too much of a problem with it. I mean, it's there, as long as it's their money and they're responsible and it's not they're hiding stuff from their family and, trying to hide gambling debts and, what I'm talking about. It's if you're on your own, no one's depending on you and it's your money and you're not losing more than you can afford to lose, then there's no issue with me.
I think the NBA will eventually get over this hurdle, and I think we're going to get to where we have casinos that are a part of our sports venues.
Hopefully right here in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've already talked about that, as that maybe that could be the future for the Dallas Mavericks. And we already have that in soccer in Europe, don't we?
Yeah.
So how do they get away with it? And maybe everyone doesn't seem fine with it over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know it's too big to ban gambling. It's too much money. The leagues are getting rich off of it. Some players are getting rich off of it. I'm talking about gamblers, not actual athletes, although it sounds like some of them were getting rich off of it too. But I go back and forth on whether there's a moral component here that should be policed or legislated. I'm kind of like you, Gordo. If this guy wants to take $1,000 or $10,000 or $20 of his personal wealth and that's his fun, okay, fine. Now, if it gets into where you see that guy is taking $1,000 or $10,000 and he doesn't make that much money, now he's having trouble feeding his family, whose responsibility is it to step in and try to fix that guy?
Right. And that's where it's kind of analogous to alcohol. It's the same thing is you can't make the government say that ban all alcohol because of these, this group of people can't handle it.
Even though we do it with drugs, with a lot of drugs, just not alcohol.
But we've relaxed on that even in our lifetime too.
Boy, and the participants, so many athletes, they love the action.
Right, because they're competitors.
Because their competitors are like, yeah, I can make this shot. I bet you 50 I can make this shot.
Yeah.
I won't just pick on basketball because I think this happens on NFL charters too. When they're flying back from a destination, there's big money on those poker games. And I don't know if anyone is actually running the house on it, but that's still technically illegal.
I think it's
what
legal.
They're doing.
No, not as long as there's no house taking.
That there's not a house? Okay,
yeah,
maybe not.
It's legal to play poker and gamble.
But just talking about the mentality of the players, that line is blurred with them because they have so much money. They're like, well, yeah, I bet you $1,000 I can, make 10 3-pointers in 15 seconds or whatever the bet is. And they do that all the time. One of the greatest basketball player ever, Michael Jordan. How much do you think he has wagered over the years between poker and golf?
Didn't he release the figure one time of how much he had lost? Because I remember
thinking about Phil.
No, I thought it was Jordan, and we had heard how much he had lost. I do remember that about Phil as well.
Yeah.
But you do the math, and you realize, well, that's it's only just a smaller fraction of his net worth or his wealth, and he earned it. So I guess it's his to lose.
You want a Jordan gambling story?
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
So this is many, many years ago. We were on a work road trip in California, and our buddy Bob Sturm and I were playing golf. Bob does our special Cowboys episode each week here on the Musers, the podcast with George. That drops every Thursday morning. We were playing golf at this course, and we saw Michael Jordan there. And we couldn't believe it. And we didn't want to bug him or get a picture, but we could see him. He was always a couple holes ahead of us, and sometimes we were at parallel fairways together. And
how'd you know it was him?
Well, it was funny. We were driving down to the driving range in our golf cart. And as we get closer, we see this tall guy warming up. And Bob says jokingly, hey, look, it's Michael Jordan playing here today. And we both laugh. And then as we get closer and closer, we're thinking to ourselves, wow, that kind of does look like Jordan. And then when we get down to where the carts were parked, there's a giant Chicago Bulls Nike golf bag with the Air Jordan logo on it, and it said Michael Jordan on his bag. And Bob and I didn't say a thing. We just looked at each other like, oh my God.
And when you got closer, you saw the Hitler mustache and the bald head.
That may have been back during that time period.
It was during the time when he had that uncomfortable mustache.
He had a cigar going as he was working his driver, and we don't say anything to him, but we warmed up next to him for a little bit. Then he got in his golf cart and drove to the tee box. Then we drove up there and watched his group tee off. There were 8 of them. So he got to play with an 8-some. And then when it was our turn, we talked to the guy at the first tee, the starter, and said, Michael Jordan gets to bring 8 guys out here? And he goes, yeah, number 1, because he's Michael Jordan. He can do whatever he wants. And 2, they play fast. he demands that you play really, really fast. And then we asked, do they put money on this? And the guy said, oh yeah, Jordan always puts a ton of money on this. In fact, he has a guy in the parking lot that is his bag man, basically. And if he owes you money at the end of the round, he will tell you to go see his friend in the parking lot who will pay you cash.
Who opens up the duffel bag.
Gosh. So he comes to the golf course, I don't know with how much, 10, 100 grand, $1 million, I don't know. But he comes ready to pay his debt because he gambles on every single round he plays.
Maybe that's why I have a different attitude about it than you guys do. I do understand the juice and the thrill of it.
Gordo.
You are bitten by the bug a little bit more than us. And that, hey, I just think that certain people just have different makeups. You know, I like some things that you don't. I go into a casino and we do shows at casinos and everything, and I'm never tempted to gamble. Like, it makes me way too nervous to gamble.
Yeah, and I'm not a big casino guy, but growing up playing golf, and I think I got this from my dad, he'd always say, well, we need to play for something. Even if it's a nickel, we got to play for something. And a lot of times we just put the title of world champion on it. But there would always be a nickel or something, and he would always have, if I got beat, hey, pay your 15 cents. So it was very harmless. But then that became $1 and $2, and
it taught you the life lesson.
Sometimes I'd
time with dad has to have a payout.
Yeah,
or it's
I'd
not
collect
worth it.
20 from my dad, and then when I played with my friends in high school and into college, one summer, I swear to you, I did really well, and it almost had a part-time job as a golf course hustler. And my hustle was, I would team up with my friend from whose daughter's already notified me that they keep a Todd count. My friend Todd. There's another one. Really good player, still is. And we were a duo because we were such good friends, and he would carry us every day. And you talk about a competitor. He was like Jordan, and we won, I guarantee you, 85% of the time. And back in the 80s, if you won 20 or 30 bucks here, it wasn't bad twice a week.
So it was just, you would just bet that you could beat another.
Yeah, we would play.
Guys.
We'd play all sorts of games. We would play, two guys.
When you would
two guys, best ball, trash.
When you'd warm up on the driving range next to the other two guys, where you're always shanking it and everything to make it seem like y'all really bad players.
I wasn't that big a hustler. I wasn't like Lee Trevino. I could beat you with a Coke bottle. But to me, stories like that, like Lee Trevino saying, I could tape up a Coke bottle and beat you, those were legendary to me. And that just felt like, man, that is so awesome. It wasn't the money as much as it was winning, and winning a bet of, hey, I bet I can do this, and I did it. The money was nice, and it sucked when you lost, and all of a sudden, if you played in a group of like 12 and you were told you're down 120, it's like, oh, geez. When you're 20 years old, that's a lot of money. But I guarantee that one summer I had more payouts than pays.
I wonder if the difference is, like, to me, the losing hurts more than the winning feels good.
Yes, that's what they all say.
Yeah.
And Giorgio, I guess the winning feels so much better than the losses hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And you quickly forget about, all right, we lost 50, but we're going to bounce back tomorrow. And a lot of times we would, until we played a guy who was eventually on the PGA Tour, and he shot 59, and Todd kept doubling the bet, and we lost a lot of money that day. But those days were few and far between, and just the thrill of, okay, we're down 40. I mean, there was times where we were down, and we would come back and win, and those were legendary. Because Todd was so amazing. He'd birdie 3 out of the last 4 holes, and we didn't lose. Mainly because of his greatness and competitiveness.
There, you mentioned Todd again.
There's another mention, but it wasn't me. I mean, I'd occasionally chip in and make a birdie and help us win, but I do understand that part of it of, hey, let's play for something. We've had stupid bets up here. Hey, I bet I can do that. And if I do, it's $10, or whatever.
See, and that's weird to me because I've never needed that juice to make a game or anything I was competing in exciting. Like the competition itself,
that's enough.
has always been enough, and the games have always been interesting enough. And I'm a scared gambler. I do not like gambling. I have to pick NFL games each week for the Dallas Morning News. I'm our radio station's representative, and I hate that because it makes me nervous every week, and I don't have any money on the line. All I've got is pride on the line, professional pride.
Yeah.
But that's enough. If I had money on the line, that would be, I couldn't make it through a weekend if I knew I was losing $100 or $500 on a game. So I don't understand that world. I know it's a part of mine, but I don't understand that world because to me, the games are interesting enough without the juice. If I'm playing pickup basketball or my own round of golf, it's interesting enough to me to see if I can break 90.
Yeah.
Or break 80 or whatever I'm trying to do in anything that I'm participating in. That's all the motivation I need. So I don't understand the extra layer.
I think it's just we're in a kick it up a notch society. I mean, we always have to make them more interesting and make our nachos spicier. So you got to make each game spicier, and adding a little action on it, that makes it a little bit more.
And that attitude's been around. I mean, that old saying's probably from the 40s. Let's make this a little more interesting and, put this on it or something like that. You mentioned prop bets earlier, Gordo, and that's something about this NBA.
That to me is what's really interesting is that I do think we are going to get to the point where NBA teams and legal gambling operations run hand in hand, and everyone will sit there in the stands with the game going on right in front of them, just prop betting every single possession.
It's happening right now.
Yeah, you can do it right now.
Oh, really? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the future.
And that has changed just my view of it. My view of it has always been, okay, this guy is tanking this and it's affecting his team. You could easily still win the game, but that guy could make sure that he had more than 5 turnovers in a game or he didn't score more than 10 points. And
how can a league police that?
I don't think you can unless you see the evidence of, he didn't score 10 points and he averages 20 a game, and there was a lot of action on the under for this game. And it doesn't even have to be a bunch. It could just be, I'm going to take the under, and he scores 19 instead of 21. And to answer your question, unless there's a lot of action on that, I don't think the league would ever know.
Yeah, the only way to police it is how the FBI just policed this latest NBA story, and that is you plant some moles, you investigate, you dig deep, you see some smoke and you think there's fire. But other than that, but the league, in terms of, putting down rules, they're allowing their athletes to bet on sports, which right there, that's already a slippery slope.
Yeah.
They say you can't bet on your own sport, but they're allowing you to bet on sports, and some can bet on other games in their sport. And just the whole thing it's very, very sticky, and it's very hard to police because they want to be in bed with all of these casinos and gambling companies because it's brought untold billions into their league.
But has it increased? To me, the final thing ought to be, is it bringing more people to the game? Like, what is the benefit? Is there benefit outside of just money for the NBA franchises? And is it increasing viewership
I think so.
and interest in the game for younger people?
For sure, in the NCAA basketball tournament. That's the one of sports event that we know that without gambling and just the office bracket pool, interest would be a lot less. But yes, to all the sports.
They say that 68 million put something on the NCAA tournament. And basically you pick the bracket for whoever was running that. Hey, pick the perfect bracket and you win this. 68 million people. They're not getting that during the regular season of, Duke versus North Carolina on a Saturday afternoon. But get to the tournament and all of a sudden everyone has an interest, both legally and then just on the side of, okay, here's the office pool. Here's your family pool. In that regard, I think it is increasing the attention for the NBA. Yeah, to a certain degree, or Major League Baseball or the NFL. Yeah, I think it has. I think it has raised the interest level. The fact that you can make so many different bets, and sometimes it's just an over/under. Sometimes it's who is going to win by the point spread. And it's, like I said, it's everywhere now. And in a relatively short amount of time, too. I'm trying to mark, has this been all in 10 years?
I think so.
Of bringing in, sports books to where they can sponsor and in the different professional sports. It's in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, and it made me think, this latest NBA scandal, how many games that we have watched over a long time have been impacted by somebody doing something nefarious and we had no idea. We just couldn't believe that crazy ending, but it was really something going on behind the scenes. How many players are betting on their game or their sport? We know they're betting on other sports, but you see these little stories like the John Mateer story from the offseason where it looked like he was maybe betting on some Pac-10, Pac-12 games. A lot of times nothing comes from it, but again, you see that smoke, and I wonder how deep this runs, and this has been going on for over 100 years in American sports. At the Black Sox scandal, we have that gambling going on in sports, and these are just the stories that we know about. Is it times 100 or times 1,000 of the stories we don't know about, or are we hearing the only ones that happen?
I wonder how did they find out, like the Billups stuff? That was part of poker games, right? His in particular was poker games.
But his was also connected with being a coach, giving inside information as to who was going to play.
Oh, I see.
And I was going to ask this. Both are
all allegedly.
Allegedly,
right.
But let's say he did do this. To me, the most nefarious is having those poker games with known mobsters.
It's crazy.
I mean, if that is true, then that lends itself to, hey, that didn't work out the way we thought it was. What about this?
You can help us out.
Yeah, you can help
owe
us
a
out.
bit on these poker games. You can help us out in another way.
Boy, these were high stakes, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Some of those guys and some of those setups, they took some rich guys and they would take millions of dollars allegedly from them. That's just amazing that you're playing a poker hand or hands of poker and someone's going to walk out of there $2 million in debt.
And you're inviting your friends to play. You're inviting your other wealthy athlete friends.
Yeah.
Athlete friends. Yeah. I have athlete friends. Yeah. And then they find out that you're part of the operation that was cheating them out of money.
Yeah. And I wonder, I think it does get bad for the NBA if there's more of this. If this is just the surface level, then we have another investigation of another player, coach, or team that maybe some come out of the woodwork now and say, well, yeah, that also happened to me, or the same thing was happening with this team. If the dominoes start falling, then I think it could be really bad for the NBA in the next couple of years.
And you guys might be right that the outrage cycle will leave this behind after a week or two. But I just think it's the vulnerability of the league right now is why this puts them in a little bit of peril. Stuff comes out about the NFL, but we all agree the NFL is a monster that apparently can't be hurt right now.
Yeah.
So they seem to outlive anything that causes outrage. But the NBA is on shaky ground right now. They had some really good TV numbers for their opening week on NBC. So there is some health here, but they're also on shaky ground because of the state of the game. And so that's why I think that this could snowball in the wrong direction for them.
There's a lot of action on those first couple of games.
That's
People
why.
were tuning in.
Yeah. But
I got the over on Luka.
And there's no doubt that gambling generates interest in the sport.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't do that, and I don't see why the games are interesting enough for me, but there's no doubt that it brings more people to the games, to the TV sets, to their phones, to the gambling apps, and the leagues know that, and they're making tons of money off of it.
So what are the cheating scandals that have hit the NFL? I mean, here you've mentioned 3 or so with the NBA.
It always seems like it's point shaving in basketball,
It
or
does
if it's
seem
betting on teams, and I guarantee you there's been football related. Art Schlichter in college
that's one.
football.
That's a good one.
And that was after he left Ohio State and was in the NFL. And but that story quickly went away too.
Mm-hmm.
I can't bring one up from the NFL.
Baseball and basketball was where we have most of it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, and here's the other part that is just fun. And I promise you, I've only done this a couple of times, but I wouldn't mind.
We're about to hear something.
I wouldn't mind doing it again someday with some friends. Go to Vegas or wherever this is legal, and sit in the gaming room, make your bets, and then just watch basketball all day or watch football all day. And all of a sudden you're screaming at the TV for the guy to stop at the 5-yard line or whatever it is. But I'm sorry, that is, I get the appeal of that.
I do too.
And I've done that a couple of times and it's been fun. Or if you can hit the 5-team parlay and all of a sudden, you get 8 times the amount of what you bet.
That sounds fun to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it personally. I don't want to sit and watch sports all day, but
right.
But yeah, I can see how someone like you, it'd be great. You're with your buddies, you're laughing. It's a whole day. You're watching sports all day. It's just fun and exciting.
Yeah. Or you make your picks. And I can see why the NCAA tournament has taken off. And I've known some people who have done this. They go to Vegas every March and they sit around and they watch the games. That looks like fun to me. Even if I only had $10 riding on it, just to see the reaction of the room and
all the trash
guys
talking,
cussing at the number 1 seed that gets knocked out. I get that.
I'm trying to think of my gambling experiences in person. And I went to Vegas once for a long weekend and I sat down at a blackjack table. And the first time I'd ever played any kind of a game in person in Vegas. And I remember the guy next to me after the first hand, he said, "Let me show you how to play." Because he could tell I didn't know what I was doing. And that was ruining the experience for the other people at the table. So he started telling me what I should do, what I need to hit on, when I need to stay. And I took like $100 to that table and I walked away with $250 because of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, this is great.
It was a good feeling, wasn't it?
This is the easiest job I've ever had.
And, but I stopped it there and I didn't play anything else. I played some slots, I think. That was one good feeling. Been to the horse race track a few times.
That's
always
fun too.
Lose big there. Always. And it's not fun to me. Like, it's kind of fun to think you've got a pick and you put it on that horse, but then the horse gets beaten by 20 lengths or something. And then afterwards you're like, why did I put $40 on that? I just threw that away. And then going back to my childhood, I remember, like you, George, your dad would offer a bet here and there, a nickel or a dime bet. The only time my dad ever offered to bet me on anything was the Washington-Miami Super Bowl 73, was it?
14-7 with the Perfect Dolphins. Yeah, 72 season.
And
Perfect Dolphins.
And he took Washington because he used to live there.
Okay.
And I happily took Miami because they were undefeated.
Did your dad know they were undefeated at the time?
I think he did.
Okay.
And he said, let's put a quarter on this. And that was a lot in 1973.
Yeah.
And
it's worth like $1 now.
Right. And I won the quarter, and then we never bet on anything ever again. But that didn't give me that feeling of, wow, this is easy money. I need to build off of that. I need to go from there. But other than those few moments, I don't think I've done a whole lot of gambling in person.
Does it make you feel better that when I do, and I rarely go and play blackjack or poker or anything like that, but when I do, I have a limit, and it's usually $200. And once I lose the $200, I don't go back.
That's healthy.
And get more.
Yeah.
You don't chase your losses.
I really
all.
don't. No, I do not. And for the person that thinks, oh man, what a waste of money. He just spent $200. Well, if you go to an amusement park, what are you dropping?
Right.
So it's the same kind of thing. If you were entertained by that,
go play a round of golf.
Go play a round of golf. Yeah. If it's a really nice course, you're going to drop, $500, and you at least have the possibility, that dream for 5 minutes. Or to me, it's kind of fun to sit at the blackjack table. And even if you break even, they bring you some cold drinks and you get to talk to people and you play for a couple hours.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
just
that's
like sitting
fine.
around playing cards.
It's always the, man, I'm down. I was up $700 and now I'm down $200. I can't quit now.
Yeah. I know, because it's going to turn around at some point.
Yeah, you're due. I mean,
Right.
You've been on this losing streak here. You're due for your fortune to change. And that kind of thinking is always what gets you.
Yeah.
To some people that can't stop chasing the loss and don't know when to cut their losses. It's the sunk cost fallacy, you know? I mean, it's like if I keep throwing money at this, then it'll turn around for me.
What percentage of gamblers do you think really win? Because there's the old saying, the reason the buildings are so big and lavish in Vegas is because most of the gamblers lose.
Right.
The house most of the time wins. So what do you think that percentage really is?
It's got to be less than 5%. That
low?
Yeah, I think so.
That actually
win consistently. And those guys who come on and say, hey, nothing, I always impersonate them on our station picks, but hey, nothing but winners this week.
Yeah.
I did go 10-0 this week.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So maybe, no, but I think it's very small. I knew playing golf growing up, once I got to high school and college, I knew guys, and I think that's all they did. I think they dabbled in business a little bit, but they bet basically for a living.
Man.
And some seem to be doing okay, but I wondered about them. Like, what if it went south for them where they owed the wrong guy money and
and just how truthful are their reports of their winnings?
That's
I always
the
think
other
people
thing.
exaggerate how much they win, or they only tell you about their wins and they don't tell you about the losses.
Right.
They'll tell you about a good weekend, but they don't really talk about the bad weekend they just had. They're just in a bad mood that Monday.
Remember the early days of our radio show, we would have a guy that said he made a living gambling. He'd call us up with tips and tell us to rub some dirt in it and take a lap. And he claimed that he made money and made a living just betting.
Well, there's professional poker players.
Yeah.
Make money
So
doing
they
it.
have to win.
Yeah, they have to win.
They have to win those tournaments.
We've always heard poker and blackjack are one of the few games, a couple of the few games that you can play where you actually have
A little bit of control.
Yeah. So, but then again, I think, stock market to me seems like a gamble too.
Totally
That's another
agree.
thing.
Every time I've gone out of my comfort zone and treated that like a casino, hey, let me give you a stock tip. You got to buy so-and-so. Buy so-and-so, and it goes up a little bit, and then it completely bottoms out, and then I'm an idiot. That's why that's part of the way that I learned that I'm not a gambler. Just give me an index fund and where I don't have to think about it, because I just get so upset if I ever lose a bunch of money on this friend of mine that made me lose $500 on some stupid stock that he had heard about on some forum.
I agree with you. I've always made that comparison. It is gambling. And the response I always get from people in the stock market is, no. We're looking into these companies. We do our due diligence. We look at their cost basis and their price per earnings and whatever, all the other mumbo jumbo. And my response to that is always, well, yeah, that company may look like it's on solid ground. And then one night their CEO goes on a bender and is in a drunk driving accident and kills someone and is removed from you're gambling on that potentially happening, and then their stock plummets. And so it is risky. The sports gambler, though, will tell you the same thing that the stock market guy says.
I know this team.
Yeah, I know this team. I know these tendencies. Look at this chart I have. I know exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's very similar to trends that you see in football or basketball. How do you feel about the person that is in the convenience store with you, and if you go to that same store during the week, that person is always buying 5 or 6 lottery tickets?
I know. I know.
At least they have the chance.
I used to play the lottery.
I did too.
When it first came to our state, I was playing the lottery and I loved that dream. And it was worth it to me to pay that $2 every week to fantasize the whole week about what I'm going to do with these sweet winnings.
Me too.
Of course, I never won.
How do you think you netted out on that? Did you win at least some $2
I lost it,
and
but
$5?
I justified it once again, which is the dream was worth the price to me. You know, it was entertaining, but it also was a source of low key stress for me because there were times where it was like, oh crap, the drawing is in an hour and I forgot to get my ticket this week. I got to run down and get it.
This is going to be the week.
And then there would be weeks that I'd forget to play it. And then I was like, And then, of course, I wouldn't have won anyway because I used regular numbers that I played all the time. And I didn't win anyway, but I risked it. And I didn't lose. But it could have happened this week. And it just tormented me that I failed to get my ticket. And my numbers could have come up, but even though they didn't, I can't let this happen again.
And they really played on your emotions too, didn't they? With you can't win if you don't play.
Right.
That's right.
How else are you going to win?
That's right. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
And we heard that
Michael Scott said that.
And we heard that terrible story of a guy who played the same numbers every week.
It's the worst.
He and his wife did.
Have we confirmed that story?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
Okay, so the story was that a guy that used to work up at our company played the same numbers every week with his wife for the lottery. And they're watching the lottery drawing on Wednesday night.
Or she was. And then he got home, is the way I heard it.
Okay, that's the way you heard it. She watches it. Their regular numbers were the lottery numbers that were drawn. And they won millions and millions and millions of dollars. She's freaking out, so excited. He gets home. She runs, jumps in his arms, white-faced. Dude, I can't believe this and everything. And then, of course, his face drops. And he tells her that he forgot to buy the ticket on the way home.
Oh, my gosh.
And that supposedly is a true story, right? We know the guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So the lesson there is don't play the same numbers because you'll have to play them for the rest of your life.
Right. That's what I felt when I was playing the same numbers. When was I going to quit?
Right.
I felt so nervous to quit because what if my numbers came up?
That's a $2 investment you'd have to make every week or whatever you buy.
And I did the other gag of I found out what numbers Craig was playing all the time.
This is so sorry.
That is sorry.
Why is that sorry?
Because those numbers were special to him.
Yes.
And he chose them for a very special reason.
And so every week I would go out and buy a lottery ticket with the exact same numbers to where he was always going to have to split his winnings with me.
Why are you always trying to jam a baseball bat into somebody's spokes?
I did it to honor him.
To honor him.
Back to your original question. When I see somebody at a convenience store and they appeared, I know I shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but they appear to be down on their luck and they are buying 10 or 20 scratch-off tickets. I feel bad for that person. Now, you could spin it as this is the way their $20 gives them that thrill and enjoyment. The thrill of scratching off is their entertainment for the week. It's like spending $20 at a movie. Okay. But I also have always kind of agreed with the lottery being a tax on the poor, and it's their easy way to millions, and they're spending who knows how much money that they can't afford on that. And that it's always made me uneasy.
But I think of how many people have looked at me in the convenience store and thought that exact same thing.
Right. If you saw Gordo, you'd think he's not doing very well.
Which is that every one of y'all's friends has judged me harshly because of my cover.
Yeah.
Wow, that's Gordon.
You know what I say? Hey, take that same $10 and bet the over on Cardinals Cowboys. You seen Dallas's defense?
And I always say, hey, take that $10 and invest in this company that I heard about on Discord.
Can't miss. So, okay, 10, 15 years from now, do you think we will see the arena/casino for NBA teams and the casino/stadium for NFL and Major League Baseball teams?
Yes.
I do too. I don't think you can hold it back.
Yeah.
I think we're just going that way. And
I think we'll all be sitting in our seats, prop betting every single possession and tugging on our weed vapes the whole time with a milking machine hooked up to our penis, just giving us a constant
orgasm. And a tube hooked up to our mouth, just feeding us beer and hot dog.
All getting beer enemas at all times.
Country will be going to hell in a handbasket, but in that moment, we'll feel great.
We'll feel awesome. We'll feel like we're the king of the world.
Yeah, and I liked what you said earlier, Craig, about just the game was enough. The competition was enough. And while I do understand and like the juice, the game to me is enough to watch Monday Night Football. If it almost ruins it for me if I have interest in it, like, okay, this team has to win or I lose my my weekly football picks, and I'm going to fall 5 games behind you or something like that.
And it's why you and I stopped playing fantasy football.
That's right.
30 years ago, because it was ruining the games. I was watching a random Vikings game, and I was pissed that Herschel Walker didn't get 60 yards that night. And then I sat back and said, "What? Why are you ruining this experience? It was a good game,
Yeah.
but you hated it because Herschel Walker you have on your team and he didn't get to 60 yards."
I know. My kids used to drive me crazy with that, screaming at the TV over some random game. You don't like the Eagles.
That's what
but
makes
that's
it-
my guy. That's my running back. And
That's what makes
he
it
went out of
fun, though.
bounds.
Fantasy football has been
I
great
know.
for the NFL.
Oh, it's been huge. And now you have fantasy football shows that are sponsored, and
Yeah.
it does really well. All right. Well, I guess we solved some problems,
We didn't
or at least
solve
we
any
made some
problems.
predictions of what's going to happen.
but
But
we talked about problems.
we did.
Which, if
We
you've ever
talked
been
it
in a
out.
relationship with a woman, you know that's important. So never solve anything. Just talk about the
talk
problems
it out.
all the time.
Yeah. And maybe you can come up with something.
By the way, tell me when somebody solves any of this, because this is such a massive issue and it goes so deep, so many layers,
Oh, yeah.
that it seems unsolvable, like a lot of things in our world, to where the answer is just give in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just give in.
Just give in.
Just give
Doesn't
me
matter.
my
Just
give me
whatever.
my weed pen and
Get
just
the
let me
tube
go
hooked
at
up
it.
and just bet on
Just
whatever you want to
please.
bet on.
Just a tube of popcorn butter right in my mouth.
Nothing matters anymore. It's just
All I want to eat is birthday cake right now.
Well, thanks to our producer, Peter Welton, and we will talk to you again next week on The Musers, the podcast.
If you'd like to reach out to the Musers and maybe have it read as a letter of the week, you can do so at themuserspod@gmail.com, or press the link in the show notes for a whole list of places to find or contact Junior, Jub, and Gordo. Thanks for listening. As always, The Musers, the podcast, is a Tired Head production.